to the Starcraft 2 update panel. Your panelists are Tony Sue, Kevin Johnson, David Kim, and Kim Fawn.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming out to the Starcraft 2 panel. My name is Tony Sue, and I'm the senior producer working on Starcraft 2. Today, I'm here to talk to you about some of the patches and features that we're coming up with in the future. However, before I get too far ahead of myself, I want to take a quick moment just to chat about some of the things that we've chatted about in 2013 and some of the highlights that we've put out, and to give you a little bit of the philosophy of why we thought they were good features and some of the things we're trying to do even more of in the future. All right, so the first thing is spawning. Spawning is a really great thing because what it did is if you and your friends are on different versions of StarCraft 2, so say your friend is on the free starter edition, you're playing on Heart of the Swarm, what it did is it took your friend and it brought them all the way up to your level, so that way you're both able to play StarCraft 2 together. And so the reason I thought this was such a great feature is because it made it even easier for you to play with friends, and this is something we're hoping to do even more of in patch 2.1 as well. The Custom Observer UI is another area that we've made some really great improvements this year with Heart of the Swarm. However, it's something that I think beyond just putting out a new UI, what was even more important was that we made it so that it was fully customizable. So that way, if you take a look here, this is something that SE2 Mapster did, and they took our UI and they broke it down completely to say these are all the different things you can do with it. And so whether you're streaming, whether you're doing replays, whether you're observing, you can customize it and make it work any which way you want. And ultimately, the greatest thing about this is it empowered the community. And by empowering the community, it allows you to customize and use it the way that you want, and this is something we want to do even more of in patch 2.1 as well. All right, many multiplayer maps. We've put out a ton of new maps this year. With Heart of the Swarm, we put out 21 new maps, and even since Heart of the Swarm, up until now, we've actually released 21 new maps. However, the big credit on that one goes out to the community. A ton of the new maps that we've put out have been submitted to us through the Team Liquid map contest, have been made by our community members. So thank you so much for all the awesome maps you guys have made, and we've been able to bring to you guys on the ladder. And ultimately what that means is we want to make sure that we're giving you more of the things that you love, and we want to continue doing that in patch 2.1. All right, so anyhow, a little bit of the nostalgic stuff on to patch 2.1. Patch 2.1 is something that we're currently working on, and we're hoping to have out by the end of the year. But even better is sometime next week, what we're aiming to do is we're aiming to put everything on the PTR so that way you guys can test it right away afterwards. Clans and groups is the first area that I wanted to touch upon, and this kind of goes into the area of talking how I was talking about earlier, about making it easier to play with your friends. The first new feature that we're adding is events. I know that as your clans and groups grow over time, as you have friends that are playing from all over the country, it makes it a little bit hard to coordinate to figure out, hey, when should we get together and play StarCraft? So, on the social menu, if you open it up, we have a little tab, and you can create an event, and the awesome thing is, even when the event gets closer, it'll give your friend a toast to say, hey, you know what? Tony added an event to say, let's play StarCraft on Saturday. Would you want to join a game? So it's a really powerful way to make it easier for you to play with your friends and to coordinate. Custom clan decals is something we wanted to bring to you as well. The example here is that basically you could take any decal that you want and you can upload it. And the example is I took Team Liquid's logo, so if you're part of the Team Liquid clan, this is something of what it'd look like. And the cool thing too is it's not just the Zerg logo, but it's also customized for each of the three races. So any game that you play in, anyone that you play against will see that logo as well, and you can show off your clan identity. Extension mods is another new thing that we're adding, and it goes along the lines of what I was talking about, of empowering the community and giving you tools. Right now, if you want to play a map with custom data, what you have to do is you have to take that custom data and you have to modify it for every single map out there that you want to play on. It's a lot of work, it's a little bit tedious, and it's really hard to figure out what you want to play. I think a prime example of this is Big Game Hunters. In patch 2.1, what we've done is we've actually made an extension mod for Big Game Hunters, so that way if you want to play Big Game Hunters on any map out there, all you do is select the map. You select Play with Extension Mods, and you can automatically play Big Game Hunters on it without having to customize that data, so it makes it far easier for you to play. Another great example here is Mono Battles. Mono Battles is a version of StarCraft 2 that's a lot of fun to play, and it's customized by Nade9 and his community, but right now, if you take a look at this shot, this is what it looks like if you want to go play Mono Battles. It's a little bit of a train wreck because there are so many different versions of that map out there because everyone has to be customized for each tile set. So with the power of extension mods, once again, you could just click on the map you want to play on, you click on extension mods, and then you choose mono battles. So that way you don't have to go through this whole song and dance of figuring out of all these different versions, what's the one you want to play on. This next slide I think is really going to speak to map makers. The example that I'm using here is Imba League. Imba League is another really popular version of Starcraft 2 that has crazy versions like all buildings can move, or anytime you kill a unit, it comes back as a zombie. But the thing is right now, with the way that our editor works, is all the different maps that you put out there, since everyone is using your maps and customizing it, you don't get the popularity coming back to you. The great thing about extension mods is since you put out one extension mod and everyone is using that mod, all the ratings, all the rankings, all the popularity goes back to the original map maker, so that way your map shows up on the most popular list and people are able to play even more games of it. So I'm really excited to see what you guys are able to do with it. Going on to the thing of giving more of the things that you love, we're taking the level cap and we're raising it from level 30 all the way up to level 35. So that in of itself, not terribly exciting, but StarCraft decals are something that we're giving you. I know a lot of you are fans of John Burton's work out there from the StarCraft's animations, so we were able to talk to him and we brought him actually in-house and we had him make some new decals for you. So the Protoss, the Terran, and the Zerg ones are customized from his artwork, and so we're really excited for those. And even when you hit level 35, he made some custom portraits for you as well. So really excited to get those in your hands. This next one, I think, will speak to those who have ever played an arcade game or if you've ever played on custom games, is no more AFK hosts.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
So I know there's nothing more frustrating that if you're playing a game of StarCraft and you can't wait to get in, and you wait for the lobby to fill up, and you wait for that one last player, and then they get in, and the host never starts the game. And you're like, what the heck, where is this guy? Is he watching a movie? I don't know what he's doing. But the awesome thing is with patch 2.1, we've added a feature that if someone is AFK after a certain period of time, it'll give them a notification to say, hey, you know what, you've been away for a while, so you should probably come back to the game. And if you don't respond to that, you'll be removed from the game automatically, so that way you're not stalling the game. And if the host gets removed, someone automatically gets promoted, and so that way you're ready to get the game started, and you could do even more of what you love, is playing the game. In patch 2.1, we're also giving you more soundtracks. I know a lot of you out there are big fans of our current music for StarCraft 2, and what our sound team has done is that they've actually taken the original music from StarCraft and Brood War, and they've completely remastered it, so that way it's available in an option. So whether you love the new music, whether you love the old music, you can listen to whatever you want, and ultimately that means happy players. All right, so I've done a lot of talking about patch 2.1, and I have one last thing to show you before I go, and one last thing to say. For the Horde, yeah! How many of you out there, by show of cheer, are Horde players? All right, Horde. I'm actually an Alliance player, so I'm going to be keeping my eye on every one of you who cheered earlier. Anyhow, you're probably wondering seriously, why am I talking about For the Horde? This is a StarCraft 2 panel. Well, one of the things you may not know is the team that works on StarCraft 2 is actually Blizzard's RTS team, and we've worked on the games for all the way from Warcraft 1 to StarCraft, all the way up through Warcraft 3. And so it's almost a tiny bit too early to be talking about this today, but it's something that we've been working on. It's something I'm really passionate about, and I wanted to show you a small preview of what we're working on for next year. And what we're doing is we're taking the Orc heroes from Warcraft 3, we're completely up-resing them, and we're bringing them to you in the StarCraft editor. Eventually down the line, we want to bring you all of the heroes. But here's a quick look. If you look at the Farseer, on the right side is a pretty poor beat-up puppy. But the guy on the left side is far better. We've taken him and we've up-resed him. Same thing with the Orc Shadowhunter. If you take a look at the Blade Master, I think he actually looks pretty good in the old model, but the guy on the left is the new model, and I think he looks much, much better. And lastly, I have the Tauren Chieftain. You can take a look at the guy on the right. We've given him a facelift, so he no longer has those crazy mad cow eyes, but he's looking much better. He's looking much beefier. Yeah? He's looking utterly awesome. But anyhow, I'm running out of cow jokes, and I've done enough talking, so let me go and hand it off to Kevin Johnson. He's our senior manager for the community team, and he has even more stuff to share with you about patch 2.1. Thanks.
Thank you, Tony. All I have to say about that model is boo. No, I'm just kidding. No, Tony, you're awesome. All right, so editions. My name is Kevin. Like Tony said, some of you might know me as Cloakin from the Starcraft 2 forums or around the community. I'm here to talk to you about editions. You're probably wondering what the heck that means. I'm talking about Starcraft 2 Starter Edition. How many of you out there are familiar with Starcraft 2 Starter Edition? Anyone? Yeah? Okay, cool. You've heard of it. That's good. That's a good start. Starter Edition is our free way to play Starcraft 2. Now, I know a lot of you out there probably already own StarCraft 2. You have Wings of Liberty, you have Swarm, so you're probably wondering, why do I even care about StarCraft 2 Starter Edition? Well, I'll tell you why you care about StarCraft 2 Starter Edition, and that is because of the noobs, right? We want to bring noobs into this system, so who are you going to roll, right? No, I'm just kidding. Who are you going to play with? Okay, tough crowd out there. No, seriously, we're always trying to find new ways to bring people into our games, both to provide more people for you to play with, as well as just share the StarCraft 2 universe with more players. So yes, let's talk about Starter Edition. Those of you that own StarCraft already, think about the ways in which this might impact some of your friends and how they might be interested in the game. And those of you who haven't yet bought StarCraft, maybe these are some compelling reasons for you to jump in and check it out. All right, so currently if you get into Starter Edition, before patch 2.1, so the patch that's coming before the end of the year, you can only play as one race. Usually that's Terran, but it's whatever race we have flagged at the time. Well, I'm happy to say that in 2.1, we are going to be changing that, and you will now be able to play as all three races at any time. We're really excited about how this could just give people a better and clearer picture of what StarCraft 2 is all about if they've never played before. All right, jumping into the meat of what I want to talk about today, and that is the arcade. How many out there have played custom games in the arcade before? Anyone? Awesome. Cool. Yes, we love the arcade. For those of you who don't know what it is our home for custom games. You can find it in the UI for StarCraft 2. It's on the left side, one of the main buttons there. Now, here at Blizzard, we love the idea of taking our tools, our resources, our art assets, sound assets, whatever it is, and giving it to the community to see what they can do with them, how they can make them, and what kind of games they can bring to the table. Arcade is our home for that. We have a history with this, as I was saying. It starts all the way back in Warcraft, Orcs and Humans. That was when we released our first editor. Moved into Warcraft 2, then in Starcraft 1 and Warcraft 3, we saw a massive, massive boom in the creation of custom games in our environment. Dustin talked about it in the opening ceremony if you were listening to him, but we did see the whole birth of genres of games happen here in War 3. The whole tower defense genre came out of there. The Dota-style, hero, brawler-style of gameplay was born here, and man, at Blizzard, we couldn't have been more excited about that. We love the idea of creating an environment, a space where players can make awesome things and even push the boundaries of the gaming industry forward. So in StarCraft 2, we've actually released an even more powerful editor, and we've seen some awesome games already in that environment currently being played, but we think there's more we can do with it, and that's what I want to talk to you about. So over the past year, we've even been trying to find some of the best games in the environment. And what we've been doing is flagging them for highlight in the arcade. You see it in this top banner in the UI. This is Night of the Dead, an awesome game if you've never played it before. You should check it out. Now, when we feature a game or we highlight it like this, we also accompany it with a blog that has a video, a developer interview. And the other main cool thing that we do is we flag it for play in Starter Edition. Now, I know that might not sound like a big deal, but it's actually a massive deal to these developers. Because essentially what we're saying is, hey, we've made your game available to the entire planet for free. So it's been a really cool thing for them. Along with the Arcade Highlight, we have our Arcade Workshop program, which we recently started. This is how we get games that are sort of in the process of being developed and maybe need a little bit more feedback. We highlight them here with this little wrench logo that you see in the banner there, trying to get people to play, get the developer feedback, and help them push their game towards completion. Now, as I said before, developers love these programs because it gets people playing their games, whether they own StarCraft or not. As you can see, we have our little top played list here. Let's take a quick look at Squadron Tower D. Check this out, over 51,000 ratings on this game. That's over 51,000 people, twice the size of BlizzCon, who have stopped, taken some time to write feedback and their thoughts about the game. That's incredible. Developers love this, right? Not only that, but players love it. They get to give their feedback, they get to share their thoughts, rate the game, be an active and vocal part of the community. The only negative that we found with these programs is the fact that these highlights eventually have to fall off the highlight list. we can only highlight so many games, and then they fall off the Starter Edition play. But we started to ask ourselves, why in the world are we doing that? We have this awesome environment of games, so many incredible games, not just the ones we're highlighting, but tons of others as well. What if we could just open the doors? What if we could do something more with that? Well, I'm here to tell you that in patch 2.1, we will be doing just that. We will be making the arcade completely free. Yeah, definitely worth some claps. So this is awesome. It's super simple. It's everything that I've been talking about. It's all a part of Starter Edition. So if you don't have StarCraft on your computer, you can go download it from the new Battle.net app or even from your account management page and play with it there. You get the arcade, as I said, but not only that, we're also going to be opening all custom games in StarCraft 2. So the traditional side of the StarCraft play experience, custom games, custom maps, maybe build trainers, those kinds of things that exist in the custom games section of StarCraft will also be free. So that matched with the fact that we're unlocking all races in Starter Edition play is pretty compelling stuff. Okay, so let's wrap this whole thing up. What is this all about? Already, today, we have bustling and growing communities around games that exist in the arcade. Games like Star Strikers, or games like Squadron Tower D, as I said before, Aeon of Storms. These games already have growing communities of players who log in and play regularly. Not just these games, but many more. But the cool thing about what's happening at 2.1 is that we're blowing the doors down. We're essentially telling these developers, you can go promote your game globally, tell people to download the Starter Edition client, and they can play for free. We're really excited to see where these communities can go and how developers can build enthusiasm around their creations. Okay, so a couple challenges. Developers, if you're out there, if you're watching on the stream, if you're in the audience, these aspiring game developers, I'd like you to think about what this platform could mean to you. This platform has over 14,000 custom art models, over 22,000 textures. That's not to mention the animations and particle effects waiting for you to create a game with. Single button publish on one of the most accessible publishing platforms on the planet. Maybe you will make the next genre-defining game. I can't wait to see it. I hope you're excited for patch 2.1. Now, gamers, you should be excited as well, because with developers putting more energy and more emphasis and enthusiasm around their creations in the environment here, you're going to be getting better games, more people playing those games, and we think that's going to be a great, awesome win all around. Okay, so to leave you and pass the mic here, I'm going to show you a quick video of some of the games that currently exist in the StarCraft 2 arcade. I hope you enjoy and have a great BlizzCon.
Hello everyone, my name is David Kim, and now that we covered what's coming next in patch 2.1 as well as the improvements to the arcade, let's talk a little bit about multiplayer. So today on the multiplayer side, we're going to be talking about the internal processes that we use as well as the external processes, and then we'll lead into the current state of the game in Heart of the Swarm, and we'll finish off with our future goals. So we have a few different teams working on StarCraft 2 at Blizzard, and the first is the design team. So the purpose of this design team is to see the big picture in StarCraft 2, as well as check things like matchup excitement or each race is doing compared to the other two races. So the goal of this team is to really figure out the overall strengths and weaknesses of the races as a whole, rather than about worrying about things like, is this unit supposed to be 2% stronger or 1% weaker? We also have the game analysis group. This is a much smaller group. And what this group does is we try to analyze specific tournament games in order to figure out the very specifics and details of StarCraft 2 games. So how we do this is individually, we try to watch every single major tournament game around the world. And then we gather as a group for discussion as well as to figure out solutions to potential problems, or to just analyze and see if proposed problems are actually problematic. We also have the balance team, and this team requires quite a skilled subset of players from all around Blizzard. So what this team does is we try to test changes internally before we release them to the public, whether it's on balanced patches or it's on balanced test maps. And we try to grab players across all of Blizzard so that we can really utilize and really grab the best of the best players within Blizzard. So this is an example of something that we looked at recently. It was a biomine strategy against Zerg. We are receiving a lot of feedback from our community as well as pro players that Zerg is struggling against this strategy a few months ago. So we looked at very specific tournament games to figure out if that's really the case. What we learned was we realized the better players actually come out ahead even when this strategy is used. However, we did realize the number of games where this strategy is being used is a little too much. And that's why we decided to make a lateral change in the next patch of nerfing Widow Mines and buffing Siege Tanks, so that Terran's strength as a whole doesn't decrease, but at the same time we can get a little bit more diversity in terms of strategy. So another thing that we looked at and we are continuing to look at right now is the swarm host strategy. And as you guys know, there's two main swarm host use cases right now. First is the more exciting, constantly moving around and finding holes and attacking and destroying buildings or units with locusts. But the second is the more passive and defensive playstyle. And we're trying to figure out which is the more optimal way to play, which strategy is what the pros are preferring to use. And once we figure that out, we'll come to a conclusion in this area, but right now we don't know yet. So StarCraft 2, working on it is not just about us as developers going in and fixing numbers, but it's also about working with our community. It's also about working with the pro players around the world. So we believe in the development of StarCraft 2 to be a collaborative process where we work together with you guys. And in order to do so, we believe constant communication is very important. And that's why in Heart of the Swarm, you guys have seen a lot more forum updates from us, including potential changes, but also our thoughts and our thinking behind what are current state of the game or current issues that are out there. We also have the situation reports, and this is a way for us to explain our thoughts behind the changes that we make. And we try to keep direct contact with various pro players as well as casters around the world that are specifically good at analyzing games. And this is an ongoing effort, and we're trying our best to increase the number of people in this group as well. So balanced test maps is another critical factor. This really allows us to have our players play with the changes and give us feedback after they've played with it. And as you guys know, just theory crafting is not always enough, and we need to actually gain feedback based off of playtests, and we believe balanced test maps help a lot in this area. And I'd like to just give a shout out to our community for helping us in this area. And another shout out I want to give is to the European Protoss player Todd for helping us run a small mini tournament in the current balanced test map. And this really allowed us to test our changes in a more tournament-like setup. And going forward, we're going to be trying to do more of these things so that we can test the changes more specifically before we release a patch. And maps is another area where we have to work together with our community on. This season we released maps like Polar Night from GSL or Yeonsu and Frost from the Team Liquid map contest. And initially we were getting a lot of negative feedback on these maps because these maps are a little different from the standard maps that you're used to. And we were also worried because of the same reason. However, it turned out that these maps are okay. And the map diversity that we have in the current season is a positive thing, not only for players playing online, but also for viewers who are watching esports games around the world. So going forward, we want to take more of these risks so that we can have a much more diverse map pool. So it's not just about us fixing the game, but it's also about players finding their own solutions. So the example I like to give in this area is back when Heart of the Swarm first released, a lot of top-end Zerg players were saying Roach Hydra is the only way to play against Terran because Widow Mines are too strong against Zerglings and Banelings. But that was until a great Zerg player, Life, actually showed other players that you can actually go Zerglings and Banelings as well against Terran. And he actually did that by winning one of the first major tournaments in Heart of the Swarm. So now let's get into the current state of the game. So before we get into the numbers, I'd like to point out it's not just about numbers. It's also about community feedback. It's also about pro player feedback, as well as us going in and checking every single tournament game to see a big picture. So this is what the current ladder looks like across all skill levels. And I'd like to point out that these are just not win percentages, but they're win percentages with skill factored out. Which means if a Protoss player that's 10% better than the Terran player that he's playing against right now, then we take out that 10% before we calculate these win percentages. And this is what the top of the ladder looks like. And as you guys can see, both of these numbers look pretty good right now. And it has been for months now. So that's why a lot of our changes have been focused more towards the pro level of play. And we look at things as specific as major tournament rewards, even at the top. And we know that this is a very small sample size, so we need to take this with a grain of salt. But right now it's looking pretty decent. But I'd like to really stress that our job is not done when these numbers look good, as it does right now, but it's an ongoing process, and we need to check on a constant weekly, sometimes even a daily basis in order to make sure that the state of the game is good. So now let's talk about what's coming up next in StarCraft 2. We definitely want to have a lot more excitement in our games. And how we could do that is to have more windows of opportunity. So in this example, you have a Protoss versus Terran matchup. And this is one way that this matchup can play out. So you see Stalkers fighting against Marines. And at this moment, because Terran has no counters out against the Stalkers, the Protoss has that advantage to deal some damage. Then that advantage has turned once Marauders come out, especially with the Stimpack and the Concussive Shells upgrade. Then that advantage is turned once again when a unit like the Colossus comes out before the Terran player is ready with Vikings. And once Medivacs start coming into play, Terran now has that window of opportunity to do some damage. So we believe that more windows of opportunity there is in a given matchup, the more exciting each game will feel. And another way to have more excitement in games is to have even more action. So if you guys remember back when Infestors and Broodlords were really popular against Protoss, if you watched 10 different Protoss versus Zerg games at that time, a lot of these games turned out very similar because there was no action for like the first 20 minutes of the game. So every game kind of felt the same. But if there's a lot of harassment and a lot of action in a given game, like the Oracle Harass, if you watch 10 different games where oracles are used, then each game will feel very different because the strengths, sometimes oracles will have very big wins. Sometimes they won't be able to kill anything. And other times, by the fact that the Protoss player tech to oracles is actually hurting him. And we want more diversity in our games. This means we want more diversity in terms of early game builds, unit compositions, as well as harassment options. But another thing that's really important in this area is to have each matchup feeling very unique and different. And we want more skill visibility in the game because StarCraft 2 is also an esport game. For example, If you watch two players playing and one side has the weaker army, but he uses Blink Micro perfectly to come out ahead, then you know exactly why he was successful. Another thing is if a Zerg player goes into battle with a perfect surround and beats a stronger army, it's also very easy to see why that happened. And the counter example here is spawn larva. If a player is able to hit every single spawn larva throughout the course of the whole game, of course he is the better player, but at the same time, that's not something that the players can easily see when we're viewing StarCraft 2. And I'm not saying something like that is not important. I'm just saying our focus should be a little more so on the things that everyone can understand, not just the hardcore viewers. So here are some specifics of the things that we're looking at right now in StarCraft 2. So there's a balance patch coming up soon, as early as next week. And the changes will be the changes that we've been testing in the balance test map right now. We're looking at swarm hosts, like I talked about earlier. And we're also working with our tournament partners on not only the map selection for WCS, but creating new maps as well. And another thing is team maps. We feel like team games are another really important part of StarCraft 2, and therefore from next year, we decided to at least add 2 new team maps per season to StarCraft 2. So before we end, I'd like to talk a little bit about nerfs. Of course, at Blizzard, we like to do buffs over nerfs whenever possible, but sometimes nerfs are necessary. And here's how we do nerfs at Blizzard through the eyes of Carbot animation. You thinking what I'm thinking, Dustin Browner?
I think I am, David Kim.
Grab your weapon.
David Kim. Grab your weapon.
It's nerfing time! It's nerfing time!
Take that. Take that.
This ain't good. We're going down. We're going down.
That one over there. That one over there. Get him. Nice shot. Nice
I
shot.
think we're done here. I think we're done here.
Yep. Yep. All done. All done.
Hi everyone, my name is Kim Fan and I am the Senior Manager of Esports. I am so excited to be talking about esports on the StarCraft 2 panel because I believe esports is here today because of all of you. So I first want to say thank you for your love and support of esports, and I hope that I'll be able to give you a bit of insight into why we do esports at Blizzard. So when I first joined the esports team, one of the first questions I got asked was, why esports? And why do we do esports at Blizzard? And to me, the answer seemed really simple and easy. We do it because we love it, we're passionate about it, and we think it's freaking cool. But at Blizzard, we also do it for the fans because we're also one of the biggest fans of esports. Most importantly, though, we've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, we invest in esports to build community engagement. We love our community, we want to support our community, and we want it to grow. And so to us, esports seems like a really good tool to help engage with our community. So if you take a look at Starcraft Brood War, for example, that game has been around for almost over 15 years, and it remained relevant and fun to watch and exciting, all thanks to esports. So because of that, it's a no-brainer why we should continue to invest in esports to expand the love and the life of StarCraft. But we've been supporting esports for many years now. At every single BlizzCon and all the Blizzard Worldwide Invitationals, we have always held an esports tournament, starting back in 2005. This picture up here is actually me shoutcasting with Tasteless for Starcraft Brood War at Blizzcon 2007. I've also had the pleasure of covering our Warcraft 3 tournaments as well. And today we are supporting Starcraft 2 as well as World of Warcraft. But what I really want to talk to you guys about is one of our biggest esports initiatives that we've ever taken on. And we also believe it's a way for us to engage in the community, and that is the Starcraft 2 World Championship Series. How many of you guys are following WCS? Wow. I'm very honored that you're here listening to this panel instead of being over at Hall C to watch the global finals taking place right now. But no worries, there's going to be a lot of exciting StarCraft 2 matches that will be taking place all weekend long. So I'm very, very excited. But WCS is not just our passion project. It, I mentioned before, it's our way to engage in the community, and we wanted to take a much more focus on esports with this attempt. But for those who don't know what WCS is, I'm going to give you a quick history. We kicked off this project back in 2012, where we introduced a tournament format that was very similar to the Olympic-style format. We wanted to recognize and support StarCraft esports across the entire globe. It looked something like this. We had over 600 players participate in the tournament series, representing over 60 nationalities, and we held over 30 live events all over the world. It was really cool. So I want to show you some of the lessons that we learned from 2012. The tournaments that we held were a great opportunity for our local players, and the live events were even fantastic for the local audience. And there's a downside to that, though. The players and the events were only interesting to the local communities and the fans. The rest of the world had a really hard time following the storyline of all of these hometown heroes because there was just too many stories to follow. Some of these players that actually played, people didn't even know until they took the stage at BWC in Shanghai, China, which is where the global finals took place. And that leads me to the global finals, where we had 32 players who represented the best in their nation, but they were not all considered the best in the world. So because of that, most of the matches, although they were all great, the skill level and the competition level were not considered equal. Those matches didn't showcase the highest level of competitive play. So we decided to take a different approach in 2013. We wanted to try something new. And instead, we decided to focus on more of our attention on creating that one single storyline that you could follow. And we also wanted to try and highlight the world's best players. These were the lessons that we learned from this year. The system that we set out to design was intended to provide consistent, high-level content all year round. We also wanted to make that content available in 3 major time zones. So you have WCS America, WCS Europe, and WCS Korea. We also established the global ranking system because we wanted everyone to be able to follow the ranking system, see where the players were stacked at, and how they were doing. This is the ranking system, and here you have the 16 players at the top of the ranking system competing at BlizzCon for the WCS Global Finals. It's going to be really exciting, and I think that no one can argue that these players are really considered some of the best in the world, and I know that the matches you'll be seeing this weekend will probably be some of the most exciting matches you'll see all year round. But we know we could do better, and we know that we can improve, so these are the things that we want to address. We announced WCS 2013 in a rush. So for those who remembered, we announced right before the tournament started. So that didn't really give a lot of our players or our community a chance to give feedback. Our structure that we chose to use for the league format was also a little bit confusing. This year's format kind of looked like this. So anyone who's trying to join in and follow WCS, it can be quite a bit of a challenge without this flow chart. We also realized we focus really heavily on the top end, and therefore there were diminished opportunities for our national players. We hope to address all of this in 2014. Which leads me to 2014. Earlier this week, I made an update in the community that we will not be announcing all the details for WCS 2014 because we're just like finalizing the details now. It's almost done. So more news will be coming after BlizzCon. But I know that I can't step off this panel without giving you guys a bit of insight into our approach and what we're looking to achieve in 2014. So I'm going to go over the high-level goals that we're going to have. First, we want to allow more time for feedback, and we've done that. For the past several months now, ever since I've joined the esports team, we have been reaching out to our tournament partners to get their feedback on what went well this year and what could be done better. We've also talked to players and to teams and to esports figures and casters. We've been sharing with them some of our ideas for WCS, and we've been getting their feedback. And then most importantly, we've been trying to reach out more. I've been trying to reach out more even on some of the community forums. And we've been reading all of the comments on Reddit, on TL, on our forums, because we really do care what you guys have to say, and we're listening to it all. And you guys are giving a lot of great feedback. It's all over the place, but it's really, really great feedback, and we think it's, we really appreciate it. So based on the feedback that we received, we've decided that we're going to steadily evolve WCS. What that means is we're not starting from scratch next year. We're not going to introduce an entirely brand new system. We want to take the system that we have here in 2013 and we want to iterate it and we want to make it better. One of the main things was the format I just mentioned. So we are going to adjust the format to make it more straightforward. Again, I can't go into all the details because we're finalizing like how many players are going to stay in the system, how many are going to drop out. But I'm going to tell you it looks a little bit like this. Qualifiers will start before the Challenger League starts, which then starts before the Premier League. So it will go in order, and you'll be able to follow very nicely, also allowing some more breathing room and some more space for our other tournament partners to also be a part of WCS. Another goal we like to keep in 2014 is we still want to continue and to highlight the world's best players, which means we're keeping the global ranking system. We are going to have to rebalance the point system to try and make it more accommodating to even more tournaments. But overall, that's what we want to do. But I also know a very hot topic in the community is region lock. Several people are asking about whether or not we would region lock, and what region lock means is keeping players who live within a certain region to only compete in that league's region. So we never intended when we released WCS to restrict that. But although we know that there is something that needs to be addressed, we really do have to create more realistic opportunities for our national players and our local players. So to give you a little bit of a hint in what we're going to or like to do for next year is we're going to designate a significant portion of our WCS qualifier spots to people who live in a certain region, which means those dedicated regions will always have a guaranteed spot into WCS. But what I mean by realistic is they still have to prove their skill. They still have to perform well, and their skill level will get tested every step of the way in order for them to advance further along into the system. So I know you guys want to hear more, and I really, really can't wait to share with you guys some of those details, but they will be coming soon. So with that, I want to also talk about other things in esports outside of WCS. We've been listening to the community, and we know that you guys have been asking for more support in esports at the amateur level. So I want to let you know that we are taking a closer look at some grassroots initiatives. I don't have anything to share yet, but I hope that we'll be able to announce something for you guys soon. And lastly, I just want to say thank you so much again to the community for your support and love in esports. We really want to continue this journey with you, and we want you to let us know what you're most passionate about as it relates to esports, whether it is Starcraft, World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, or Heroes. We want to hear about what you love, and we want to be there with you. So that concludes my panel, and before we open it up to Q&A, feel free to go ahead and start lining up if you have questions for anyone on the panel. I just want to show you guys one last video to remind you why we love what we do in esports and to get you super excited about the WCS Global Finals. Oh, my bad.
So thrilled to be here on this final day. The top 16 16 WCS point earners of the season go to the Blizzcon finals.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, I know none of you guys are core systems programmers for Starcraft 2, but I'm just wondering if you've made any progress with the reconnect features for it, or if you're still working on it.
Reconnect is something that I actually work on the Star 2 side, so it's something that we are continuing to work on. I know in moving towards patch 2 and also in moving towards patch 2.2 next year, it is something that we're continuing to make improvements on, much like I talked to the groups and clans, and that's an ongoing process. We're adding new things into one, ongoing in the future. We're going to be continuing looking at it, and we want to make it even better.
Cool, thank you.
Hi. With the release of art tools, it really allowed map makers to get in there and make a lot of models for their maps and stuff like that. There wasn't actually an importer with art tools, so it's very difficult to use already existing Blizzard assets. Is there any plans or talks or anything about working on an importer?
So I probably can't speak to the exact specifics of your feature request, but I know that the, like you said, our art tools being in an open beta state right now, I didn't get to talk about that in the panel, but they are looking to improve those. I will definitely give that feedback. I know that we want to continue to improve those and make them more accessible, not just to you know, 3ds Max users, but also other you know, other creators, sort of model creators. And that feature request, I think, is a simple one to pass on. So I know they want to improve it, and so I will definitely share that. So
Right on, thank you.
No problem.
Hi, so recently on Team Liquid there was a post called Depth of Micro. I was wondering if you guys saw that post and what your thoughts were on it.
Yeah, we try to look into every single community, like especially the big ones, like the video that you're talking about. And regarding it, we thought it was a really amazing comparison between the two games. But I think at the end of the day, it kind of goes back to the point about skill visibility that I was talking about. A lot of those micro opportunities that there were and that were shown in that video were very cool, but it's not something that a casual level viewer can easily understand. But so while we do want specific things that the only really hardcore players can understand, we want to more so focus on something that everyone can enjoy. Because on this side, not only the most hardcore people can understand the stuff that's going on, but also the casual viewers. So we want to have a good balance of the two. And right now, our focus is more so on the skill visibility for everyone.
Hi guys, first I want to say thank you for everything you do. This question is kind of more for David Kim, balance related. I feel like the current state of like TVZ is mostly dominated by like Mutiling Bane versus Biomine. We don't see a whole lot of mech play. Just kind of wondering what your comments are on that, or if you're planning on like doing anything more to encourage mech play viable against all races.
Yeah, we definitely want more viability or diversity in that matchup. And like you said, mech is a good opportunity for us, and that's why we're making the 2 changes in the next patch that's coming up as soon as next week of combining the mech air and ground upgrades, as well as the siege tank buffs. And if that's not enough, we do have the time to try to address more of these, but I think our goal in the near future is to try to have mech viable in maybe not only against Zerg, but also maybe against Protoss, and we'll do our best to try to do that before the start of next year's WCS season.
Okay, do you have anything like more specific, like besides the tank change and the upgrade change in mind?
No, like all the changes that we're thinking on, we try to do our best to explain to you guys through forum updates. So whatever you guys see right now is the things that we're looking at. But we'd like to really first focus on making sure that these, what these 2 changes do before moving on to additional changes.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, guys.
Hi.
First of all, good news on the StarCraft 1 and Brood War sound. But are we still looking in or trying to implement skins for units and or unit sounds?
So skins are something that we're definitely excited about. I mean, to be honest, it's something that I really want as well. It's a question that I ask fairly frequently in the office is, hey, when can we get more skins? I know some of our community has started working on like a Starcraft mod using the Starcraft skins. The reality of it right now is because Starcraft we have to support from low-end systems all the way up to high-end systems, we really need to make sure that first and foremost the game plays well, and as a result of having to support a wide array of systems, we're up against a memory cap. So realistically, without re-architecting the game and bringing that memory cap in and raising that amount, we cannot physically add more skins without affecting gameplay. And while it's really cool, and I'd love to have more skins to offer, ultimately we need to make sure that the gameplay comes first, that people are enjoying the game. And hopefully somewhere down the line, like I said, it's something we ask frequently, is this the time, is this the chance that we have that we might be able to take a break and work on the infrastructure to be able to offer this? And it's something we're really excited about, and it's continually talked about. But as of right now, because of that memory cap and limitation, we're not able to offer more than we do have.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hi there. My question is more geared toward the esports department. I'm going to give a little bit of my background just because it informs my question. I'm from SC Legacy. It's been a fan site since before Brood War. StarCraft's been my life since the Clinton administration. I love this game. I've always loved this game. And I do commentary. I've uploaded hundreds of commentaries since the Wings of Liberty beta. And I have not watched a single match of the 2013 WCS. And why I think I haven't, and I know I'm not alone in this criticism, is that there's too much of a good thing. And I just want to know what your thoughts on that criticism are regarding there's just so much going on and it's every day and it almost feels like, thanks for watching the Super Bowl, see you next month for the Super Bowl, and it's just, I guess I just want to know what you think of that criticism.
Okay, so we've definitely heard that feedback as well, and I think some of us also share that feedback at Blizzard. So I think one of the unique things about StarCraft 2 is that we have a global audience, and I don't know that, that's a great thing, right? Like we think that's fabulous. I think when we initially launched the 3 different leagues, we were hoping that people within that region would be able to watch StarCraft in their major time zone, right? And that they would be excited about that. But instead, our audience wants to watch everything. And so therefore, it just felt like too much. But we are looking to try and dial back a bit, which is one of the reasons why we did choose to cut down a season, as well as the season finals. I know that everyone really liked the season finals a lot, but overall, we're just trying to scale back a bit so we can spread everything out more. We're also working with our tournament partners to find out if we can have a more regular broadcast schedule so that you will know when to expect some of the matches for, like, let's say, WCS Europe may only be on 2 days of the week, and you'll always know which 2 days they are, and same with WCS America and Korea. So those are the things that we are discussing on how we can really provide really great content and not too much at you. And the other thing is we also want to encourage our community casters as well. So I think for our system, we're going to be inviting, at least for the Challenger League and even qualifiers, to opening up those tournament matches for our community casters to cast, so that you don't feel like you have to watch everything. Because we do have people that want to watch everything. Like for everyone that says there's too much content, there's going to be someone else that says, why aren't you casting this match? Why aren't you broadcasting it? Because that you never know which players are going to play and they want to watch it all. But I don't know if that answers your question. So we are aware of it, and we are hoping to try and make it better next year.
That does answer my question, and it's encouraging. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, this question is for David Kim. First of all, I'd like to say that I really like the direction that you've gone with the kind of policy around balance, and especially around including diversity, rather than just focusing on this being a too OP or whatever. And so my question is, sorry, it's really weird to hear my voice echo. My question is whether you're considering kind of looking back at what you've done in the past, because I feel like maybe your policy wasn't quite as honed as it is now, and maybe changing some of the things you've done in the past to kind of add more diversity and the things that you're looking at now.
Yeah, I think that's an option. And I'd like to, before I answer the question, I'd like to just point out that it's not just the game that improves over time. At Blizzard, we have like a culture of polish. So we try to polish our processes as well. And that's why, like you say, our process is much stronger now compared to, say, like 3 years ago. And as far as looking back at things, it is something that we're constantly trying to do. For example, at the beginning of Heart of the Storm, one area that we were focusing on was, were there any strategies in the past that were really awesome? And how can we bring those back? And that's why we did things like the Mutalisk buff, or even the buff to the Medivacs and so on. So it's just always on the table, but if you guys have good suggestions, we'd be glad to hear them on our forums. And although right now there is no specifics, like the only specific changes that we're working on right now are the ones in the balance test map. But just going forward, I think all those suggestions will be very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is a question about the arcade, and some developers may have some problems when they create custom games because they have to make a living out of something else. So we have heard in the past about a plan for a marketplace. Are these plans still going to move on?
Yes, so we talk about marketplace all the time. We know when we launched the arcade, it was something that we had put forth as an intention for us and for the team, and that still exists today. I know that's probably hard to hear, but it really is something we look at as a goal for that ecosystem and for that environment. The reality is that we haven't been able to invest the time in the tech infrastructure to make that work. Now, the good part of that is we are spending time to build a tech infrastructure that could potentially work very well for this through Heroes of the Storm. And as you know, both of these games exist in the same engine environment. So our hope is that what we learned through Heroes, the sort of tech investment that we're making there, we'll be able to potentially build on that and eventually reach that goal. I can't give you any timeline on that. I really don't know, but that's kind of how we're looking at it right now, is learning from Heroes, getting another step along that line, and then looking at doing more with that in the future. I hope that helps.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi there. My name is Icicle SC2. I work at the Electronic Sports League. I built the overlay for WCS Europe and BlizzCon here.
Awesome.
Thank you. So my question is, I feel like Starcraft 2 is a really difficult game. Some of the data we've got at my company from some of the tournaments, we're losing participation month after month. The tournament size is shrinking. The players that are playing these tournaments are shrinking. And is there any plans to try and increase the not the skill visibility, but just getting more people into the game, letting them execute the cool strategies they see the pros doing, and then moving on from there? Is there anything from that?
Yeah, I think that's why we're trying to make a lot of improvements, especially on the arcade side, to bring more players. But I think just to that point, I think right now we're in a state where we have a lot of players and viewers from around the world. So I think we're in a decent state. But on top of that, we do always want to just increase the number of players playing as well as viewing also. So on our end, we're doing things like making improvements to the UI of the service as well as arcade improvements. And on the tournament side, we believe it's like it's a group effort between us, the tournament's pro players, as well as our community to try to grow StarCraft 2 together as a whole. And yeah, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I'll add a couple bits to that too. I know Kim mentioned this in her section, but we haven't talked a lot about this, but we do have plans to spend a lot of energy and effort on grassroots esports growth. You're going to hear and learn a lot more about that over the course of probably the next couple months. But it's something that I think we are looking at in 2014 as a huge goal. How do we start building from the bottom up a little bit more in terms of engaging players around StarCraft? And we have some awesome plans. I personally am so thrilled about the team we have now that are going to be addressing that and where we're headed with that. I think it's going to be really exciting. So,
All right, thank you very much. I look forward to it.
I think we might be running.
Yeah, we wanted to thank all of you for taking the time and spending your BlizzCon with us, and we really appreciate it. We are actually out of time right now, but all four of us are going to, well, Kim might need to get back to DirecTV, but we're going to step off the stage. If any of you would like to come chat with us, we also have these awesome WCS packs. If you guys haven't seen them, we will have some available for you, and I also have a rare parting card as well, so feel free to come by, say hi. We would love to chat with you.
Yeah, we'll just be, I guess, over here, maybe. Right?
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
a lot, guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate
everyone.
it.
Thanks.
World of Warcraft, the Adventure Continues panel.
I'll take. No, I'm good. I have. You take them.
Welcome to the World of Warcraft, The Adventure Continues panel. Your panelists are Alex Afraziabi, Tom Chilton, Brian Holinka, Dave Kosak, and Chris Metzen.
Hello, 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 BlizzCon. Woo! Guys, I am so excited. I'm so excited to be here, just to meet the fans and the costumes. Guys, you outdo yourselves every year. I got to tell you, you guys make this the most fun gaming convention I've ever been at, hands down. Thank you so much. All right, so we are going to talk about Warlords of Draenor. So if you were at an earlier panel, we blew through 200 PowerPoint slides in like 60 minutes or something. It was a little much. We kind of ran out of time. For this panel, we wanted to slow it down a little bit, take it easy. We're going to talk about just a few topics. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the heart of this expansion, our values, sort of the soul, and why, most importantly, why Draenor is absolutely the next place to take the Warcraft franchise. All right, so let's get my PowerPoint up here because I'm a big fan of PowerPoint. Okay, so recap. How did we get here? How did this all begin? We asked ourselves, what if? What if you take this guy, Garrosh Hellscream? Now we know about Garrosh. We know about his values. We know what's important to him. We know, we know the kind of horde that he wanted. What if someone gave him a golden ticket, maybe a certain bronze dragon that you might have met on the Timeless Isle, to go back and make the horde that he wanted? What if he stops the orcs from drinking the blood of Manroth, stops them from becoming the fell, green-skinned, possessed barbaric horde that we know from the past? Makes that one little change. What do we get? Oh, we're still getting a horde, all right. We're getting a little something like this. We call it the Iron Horde. There they are. We're going to talk a little more about these badasses a little bit later, but I can give you a quick nickel tour there. There's Kargath Bladefist there on the left. Black Hand is looming above him. If you've played the RTS games, these names are familiar. Now, before, maybe they were an inch-high unit on an RTS screen, but now we're going to get to meet them. We're going to get to smell their breath. We're going to get to really interact with these guys. Now, a couple things to note. So, Garrosh, he's not the main villain of this expansion. Just want to make that clear. He's going to set things in motion, and then they're going to spiral out of control, which is kind of awesome. The other thing to note is that they are coming for us. He's not manipulating some other time. He's trying to open a portal to our present to take vengeance on the Alliance and Horde that deposed him. He's angry. He's got an axe to grind. These guys are coming for us. So we like this idea because it does a couple great things for the game for us, right? First of all, this kind of threat, these badasses coming through a portal to eat our faces and eat the faces of our unborn children, this is exactly the kind of threat that Warcraft is all about. This gets our franchise back home. This is what Warcraft is all about. It's about war and craft. We like that. The other thing we really like about this is it gets us here. It gets us to Draenor, and we're going to spend some time talking about Draenor and why this is such an amazing world. But first, what did I miss? What else do we want to talk about these guys before I move on? Boom! All right, I'm going to keep going. Draenor. What do we love about Draenor? So this is a place steeped in Warcraft lore. It's the home world of the orcs. And if you play Draenei, you know that the Draenei kind of adopted this as a home world. They lived here for a couple hundred years. This is an amazing place. It is just a place of mythic scale, mythic scope. It is a savage world. It's a primal world. It's untamed. As Chris said at the other panel, it's not like the Seven Kingdoms where there's all these kingdoms after kingdoms that have built over time. This is a primal world. This is a savage world. These are clans fighting for dominance. We call it a world of giants. This world will eat your face. And this is one of the main themes that comes across. And I'm going to apologize because we're going to use the word savage a lot. We're always talking about a savage world. This is a savage place. And that gives us gives us a great theme to really dig into, gives us a great place to have these really heroic adventures. This is a savage world. How do you cope with a world like this? How do you cope with the world where to escape slavery, these guys will cut off their own hand and attach a weapon to it? Like, these guys are hardcore. How do you cope with that? Do you become a savage yourself? Or do you kind of bond together with your family, your clan, or your faction as kind of a bulwark against this savage world? What's this world going to do to us? That's one of the questions that we get to ask and we get to explore with all the adventures that you're going to have here. What about the Draenei? The Draenei land on Draenor, and it's fair to say they're kind of living in a bubble. They were living separate from this savage world. This savagery is going to bust open their walls. It's going to come pouring into their cities. How are they going to react? What are they going to do? Are they going to become savages themselves? Are they going to come together? We get to explore Draenei in sort of their sort of crucial turning moment, and we haven't really been able to explore that yet, so that's pretty exciting. This is the Frostwolf clan. Frostwolf is Thrall's home clan. Horde's going to get to spend some time with the Frostwolf clan. When we find them, they're not really running on all cylinders. They're not really working together. They really need to kind of get some of their stuff sorted out so that they can come together and fight off this savagery themselves. Even the garrison, and we're going to talk more about garrisons at a panel tomorrow, even your garrison kind of hints on this theme. I mean, this is a dangerous place. You got to build these big stone walls to, keep the savagery out. This is your bastion, your safe haven on Draenor. And also, in that idea of that building that community, you're going to be bringing heroes from all over the world to your garrison, and you're going to sort of be forming your own sort of dream team here. So, this theme comes across in all the content, in everything we do in Draenor. Anything? What am I missing? Anything else here?
That was savage.
Savage.
Way savage.
We might want to pause here and actually talk a little bit about how we got to this savage world and how we decided upon Draenor. Maybe that's a good conversation.
It was
to have,
a savage process.
It was brutal.
Ideation.
It was brutal, actually. Yeah. Not Fred Savage. It's taken a little too far, but close. Yeah. So interestingly enough, when we talk about this expansion, warlords are at the highest point of equity for us, I think. But the second point is, as it always has been, the world. And we went through a whole lot of iteration as to what this world could be. I think we really
we wanted to get those warlords, and we were like, well, what does he do? Does he raise them from the dead? Does he bring them back? Where do we put them? Where do we put this expansion?
And we actually did that. We initially went, Garrosh is going to go to the Outland itself. He's going to be exiled or something like that. He's going to use some kind of ancient horn and resurrect the fallen warlords and then invade Azeroth. And as we started to look at what that would look like from a world design perspective, I think we all were a little over Outland as it exists now. But then we thought about, wow, there's something here though. There's a world here with a story to tell. And so how do we get that world? How do we get that version of Outland to our players who have never seen it and get our warlords? And I think this is how we started going down this path of what we have now, which is the Warlords of Draenor and Draenor 30 years ago.
And Tom in particular really wanted us to get into the theme of time travel and use it a lot.
He did.
Because it's very popular.
Or not.
And easy
We use time cop rules, by the way.
Yeah, it's important to note this is an expansion about Draenor, so it's not really the time travel expansion. You don't have to worry about Thrall's parents not meeting and now he's got to play guitar at the school dance. That's not the expansion we're building. We want to get you to Draenor. We want to get you to this really epic, mythic, heroic place to have savage adventures with savages savaging the landscape. Is that good?
Savage-a-luza.
So
actually, like on that point, like just to get out ahead of it, like with the time thing. I mean, we've got a number of stories kind of set in the past, War of the Ancients and things like that. And there have been issues over time where there's little potholes or little breaks in the line. As that factored into this expansion set and really chasing this story, we certainly thought a lot about that. The time travel stuff's it could be pretty rough, just as writers and making editorially making sure everything lines up and everything's hip. Sometimes things don't go to plan. So with this one, we just want to say very clearly that yes, at some point, oh my God, some point soon, Garrosh will go back in the past, but the point at which he arrives, which is slightly before the events of Rise of the Horde.
You can stop now.
Oh, I lost my train of thought. See how complicated
Sorry.
it is? But at the point at which he arrives, it's all normal kind of continuity to that point. And the point at which he arrives, effectively, it's like it's its own game. Our world's fine. History's fine. The threat ultimately is it maybe makes like a quantum. I'm not going to go there. You told me to stop, I'll stop. Fine. You explain it.
If we do our job as the past is fine. We are focused on Draenor going
Right.
here, kicking some orc butt. But what really excited us about this place, as Alex was talking about, was sort of all these kind of unanswered questions. This is a place steeped in WoW lore that we've never really gotten to explore. I mean, you've never seen Draenor before the demons had their way with it, before it was shattered in Outland. So what was it like? What was this place like? What was Karabor like before it was the Black Temple? This, by the way, this will be the Alliance capital in this expansion. You get to see Karabor when it was its sort of gleaming, glorious past. What about Auchindoun? What did it look like? Well, probably something like that. What was it like when it was sort of this beautiful mausoleum to the dead?
Savage beauty.
Savage beauty. How about Shatrath? Did you know that Shatrath was a coastal city? Did you know that Draenor had oceans? Of course it did. This is Shatrath on the Zangar Sea. We're gonna get to see Shatrath, the City of Light, as a glorious the city that it was. Of course, it's in trouble. This is Warcraft, so we're gonna have to save it. But this place is really steeped in lore, and it really gave us a chance to explore it. What were the Arakoa like when they had wings? Just a spoiler, they were jerks. But. So when we have this kind of savage backdrop, it gives us the opportunity to create these really, really over-the-top villains. And I think we started to talk about these guys, and I love, all their stories are amazing. We get to spend a lot of quality time with these guys. Look, sort of buried here in the middle on the left there, that's Kilrog Deadeye, right? These guys rip out their own eyeball to see their future, their own glorious death, and then they steamroll toward that death with everything they have. How do you fight someone like that? How do you fight that kind of savagery? Yeah, I said it. What are you gonna do?
Should be a drinking game.
Yeah.
Be plastered by now. BlizzCon's over. It's too much.
I guess the important question to ask is, what would happen if the baddest badasses in Warcraft history formed a basketball team? Dudes can dunk, is what I'm saying. Sorry, thank you. I'm glad that got a chuckle. I spent minutes photoshopping that. Now we kind of cheated. We snuck in right there in the middle, wearing the wolf cowl. That's Duratan. That's actually Thrall's father. Is he a hero? Is he a villain? Ooh, you're gonna have to play the expansion. Now, having these big epic villains, is there anything else you want to cover before? I did my basketball joke, that's all we need. So, having villains this big and this bold means that we can have heroes rise up to the challenge. First of all, that's you guys. You guys gotta face this kind of threat down. Someone just raised their fist. Yeah, he's talking to me. You guys are going to get to do that. It also gives us the opportunity to really kind of adventure with some heroic characters. And I'm very pleased to introduce you to Yril. Yril is one of the Draenei. This kind of situation, this kind of savagery, go ahead, have a drink, is going to force ordinary Draenei to step up and become extraordinary. And so we're going to get to follow Yril's journey. She's kind of a Joan of Arc kind of archetype for the Draenei. Is one of the kind of characters we get to follow, and you get to help on.
I mean, just to jump in on that, Dave, it's like we're aware that the past number of expansion sets, we set the Draenei up in Burning Crusade. It was potentially a really deep, really interesting kit. And by the end of that game, they had got help from the Alliance and Horde, and ultimately did whatever we did in Outland.
They hung out.
We beat Illidan, right? There's yeah. was a little aimless in hindsight. Nothing personal. It's all Alex's fault.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the Draenei kit had a lot of potential, and the past number of expansion sets, we haven't done much with it. So part of this was being really, really excited to kind of dig in on the Draenei kit and show them. I think David said it earlier, kind of at the height of their civilization. You know, before they were rolled by the Horde, before they were annihilated, we get to see what they were like and what they thought and how they lived and were there factions within their own race. And being able to create a character like Euro has been super cool, right? Just not only to get butt-kicking female character kind of to the fore of the Draenei, but just to have just a really rockin' new, mega level alliance champion, that isn't one of the, the same old race leaders. Like, that was something that was really, really fun for us.
Again, once we started talking about going back to Draenor, all these sort of ideas and plots started to spring into mind. We got really excited about it, which is a good sign. While we're talking about the Alliance, hey, let's talk about the Alliance. Much like Pandaria, Alliance and Horde, they're going to come in. This is going to change them. And so this is something we really get to explore. We talked about this earlier in the other panel. I mean, in the Alliance at this point, it's superpower status. And in a lot of ways, this is Beyond the Dark Portal all over again. What I really like about this is the Alliance is going on the offensive. They are taking the battle to them. They're stepping through the portal and kicking some butt.
Speak it, Brother Dave.
Love it. So who's going to be one of the first people to step through? Well, do you guys remember Murad? Maybe not. Some of you do. Good. From the Burning Crusade cinematic. Maybe that's all you remember him from, because we really didn't do a lot with Murad.
Most of the dev team did not remember Murad, by the way. Although we have statues of him all
That's
throughout
a fact,
the office.
by the way.
So you want to talk about some unresolved issues. Murad saw it all go down. He saw his people just slaughtered. Everybody he knew practically from Draenor slaughtered. So he's got to face kind of the demons of his own past. He's going back through there. He's going to try and set things right. He's on the front lines of the Alliance going through. And then his own values, once he comes face to face with this, are going to get questioned and tested. We're going to really get to explore this character. Anything else about Murad? What do we want to say about Murad?
I mean, I think it's a theme though for us in terms of the warlords of Draenor as an expansion, right? I feel like it's not just the orcs that are the warlords. I think that there's a lot of history here. There's a lot of people here. There's a lot of characters here, and I think Murad, we're going to find out as we go through his story, is also categorized as one of the warlords of Draenor, and maybe by the end of this thing, you will be too. We'll see.
How about this guy? Who wants to see him put some armor back on?
I do.
Yeah. Is it about time? Yeah. He's talk about some unresolved issues. He's got a hammer to pick with Garrosh, I think. Yeah.
Talk about unresolved issues. Yeah, Thrall's chomping at the bit. Yeah, we had talked about this before. We've seen it on the internet. Like, a lot of people have been speculating that who is the orc racial leader in the Horde now. And we haven't totally decided it yet, but if I was to be asked to vote, I would say I don't think the orc racial leader is Thrall at this point. I think it should be like Sarfang or someone like that. Because Brother Thrall here has some serious work to do to ultimately bring Garrosh to justice. Certainly to get a new outfit here. And ultimately just solve a bunch of problems with his hammer. Would please me.
The best solutions involve the hammer. Yeah.
Strong blunt instruments.
But Thrall's story really kind of dovetails into just the whole Horde story. The Horde, as we said earlier, has to come face to face with sort of its own past at a time when it's trying to reinvent itself after the disastrous reign of its last war chief, and it's trying to really figure out who it is. To go back to the roots and really figure that out is something that excites us about the Horde storyline here. All right, and we talked about this earlier, the Draenei. We haven't really we haven't been able to do a whole lot with them in the last couple expansions, and people are saying, what about the Draenei? This is really our opportunity to really look at their civilization, look at what made them cook, what made them tick. Even in Burning Crusade, we only saw them after they had already fled, after everything had already been destroyed. When we were exploring the Draenei civilization, it was pretty much wrecked already. This gives us a chance to see who they really were, what they were about, and
just to cut in on you, one of the promises we made, a pact that we made for this one, as we first started talking about the Draenei, was that we're not going to allow them to crash any spaceships this time.
What about a little spaceship? A little spaceship? No? Okay, all right. No crash Draenei spaceships.
No spaceships. It's very important.
We really get to explore the Draenei, and you know what I think is really interesting is we get to see them at that pivotal inflection point. I mean, this is their Pearl Harbor moment. We get to really see them at the key moment in their recent history. So that'll be pretty exciting. It also lets us build up the culture kit, like what their buildings look like. You know, how things really were at kind of the height of their civilization on Draenor. Last point. And this is more of a gameplay value, really, than necessarily a story value. But we're excited building this world. We're excited building Draenor. And something that we'll talk about tomorrow in the Raids, Quest, and More panel is that we really want you to get out there and explore this world. We've loaded it with all these kind of cool nooks and crannies and these little hidden caves. And we want to load those hidden caves up with treasures and events and spontaneous things happening around you while you're questing. A little more like the Timeless Isle. If you play the Timeless Isle on Pandaria, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of rare bosses. There's a lot of stuff that just happens that's bringing people together all the time. Let me give you an example of that. This is kind of not the greatest screenshot, but it illustrates a point. While you're in Frostfire, which is playable here at the convention, if we would ever stop talking, we'd let you play the game. It's playable here at the convention. While you're running around the world, you'll see the Iron Horde here. They got snowed in. This is their caravan. These dudes with shovels are trying to dig it out while their war chief is yelling at them. You can just sort of stumble on this while you're playing. In the back of that cart, there's a treasure chest. If you can kill these guys, if you can kill the cleft hoof that's pulling it, then you can loot the treasure chest. There's not a quest to go there and do that. It's just something you find in the world. It's just an example of the kind of things that'll be around the world. So we really want you to just dive into Draenor and just explore and find things and discover things as you play and just make it a more dynamic, living world. And that's something we'll talk about more tomorrow. So I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna bring it home. This screenshot